The champagne glass slipped from Simone's hand, shattering against the marble floor of the hotel ballroom as she watched her husband Derek's tongue down another woman's throat behind the wedding cake table. The sound echoed through her mind louder than the jazz band playing 20 feet away. 3 years of marriage, and this was how she found out about his affair at his sister's wedding, no less. "Look what you've done now," Vanessa's sharp voice cut through Simone's shock. Derek's sister appeared beside her in her flowing white dress, eyes blazing with disgust. "Can't you do anything right? This is my wedding day and you're already making a mess." Simone bent down to pick up the larger glass pieces, her hands shaking. "I'm sorry, You just what? Decided to ruin my perfect day?" Vanessa's voice grew louder, drawing attention from nearby guests. "Honestly, Derek should have left you home. You're nothing but a family embarrassment." The words hit Simone like physical blows. She looked up from the floor to see Derek quickly separating from the woman Candace from his office, both of them smoothing down their clothes and pretending nothing had happened. Derek hadn't even noticed his wife's distress or his sister's public attack. "Vanessa, please," Simone whispered, still on her knees gathering glass. "People are staring. Let them stare. Maybe they'll finally see what we've all been saying behind closed doors." Vanessa stepped closer, her voice dripping with venom. "You're not good enough for this family. You never were. Derek could have married anyone, someone with class, with connections, with something to offer. Instead, he settled for you." Simone's face burned with shame as more wedding guests turned to watch the spectacle. She could hear whispers starting, see phones being lifted to record her humiliation. Derek was still across the room, now talking to Candace like nothing had happened, completely oblivious to his wife's public destruction. "The only reason Derek married you was because you were paying all his bills," Vanessa continued, her voice carrying across the reception. "We all know you've been supporting him for years with your little architecture job. But money can't buy you class, can it? It can't make you belong here." Mrs. Patterson, Derek's mother, appeared beside her daughter with a look of approval. "Vanessa's right, dear. You've never quite fit in with our family. Perhaps it's time you accepted that." Simone's chest tightened as she stood up, glass pieces cutting into her palm. Blood dripped onto her navy dress, but she barely felt the pain. The emotional wounds cut much deeper. She looked around the ballroom at the faces staring back at her, some with pity, others with cruel amusement, most with uncomfortable silence. "I think I should go," Simone said quietly, reaching for her purse. "Yes, you should," Vanessa agreed with satisfaction. "You're bringing down the whole atmosphere. This is supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and you're here looking like someone died. It's depressing." As Simone turned to leave, her eyes met those of a tall, handsome man in an expensive suit standing near the bar. He was watching the entire scene with a frown, his dark eyes filled with what looked like recognition and concern. She'd never seen him before, but something about his gaze made her pause. He started walking toward her, but Vanessa's voice stopped him. "Ryan, darling, don't worry about her. She's just leaving." Ryan, Vanessa's new husband. The successful businessman everyone had been talking about all evening. He looked from his new bride to Simone, then back again, his jaw tightening. "Actually," he said in a deep, measured voice that commanded attention, "I think we need to talk." Simone felt her heart skip a beat. Why would Vanessa's husband want to talk to her? And why was he looking at her like he knew something that everyone else didn't? The jazz band played on, but the tension in that corner of the ballroom was thick enough to cut. Derek was finally walking over, having noticed the commotion, with Candace trailing behind him at a safe distance. "What's going on here?" Derek asked, slipping an arm around Simone's waist in a gesture that felt more possessive than protective. "Just a little misunderstanding," Mrs. Patterson said quickly. Simone was just leaving. But Ryan's eyes never left Simone's face. "No," he said firmly. "I don't think she was." Ryan stepped closer to Simone, ignoring his new wife's confused expression and Derek's territorial posture. "Excuse me," he said politely to Derek, "but I need to speak with your wife privately." "I don't think that's appropriate," Derek said, his grip tightening on Simone's waist. "It's your wedding day, man. You should be focusing on Vanessa." "This is about business," Ryan replied calmly, but his tone carried an authority that made Derek step back. "Professional business that concerns your wife directly." Vanessa's face flushed red. "Ryan, what are you talking about? What business could you possibly have with her?" Ryan extended his hand towards Simone. "Miss Simone Taylor, isn't it? Or do you go by your maiden name professionally?" Simone's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't used her maiden name Taylor in her professional work since college, except for one major project 3 years ago. "How do you?" The Harrison Building downtown. 42 stories of innovative design that revolutionized sustainable architecture in the city. You designed that building, didn't you? The ballroom seemed to go quiet around them. Simone's mouth fell open slightly. The Harrison Building had been her masterpiece, the project that should have launched her career into the stratosphere. But she'd been credited under her maiden name because the firm she worked for at the time had wanted to avoid conflicts with Derek's business connections. Yes, but how did you know that? Because I own that building, Ryan said with a slight smile. Harrison Corporation is one of my subsidiaries. I've been trying to track down the real architect for 3 years. The firm that submitted the design claimed it was a team effort, but I knew better. That level of innovation doesn't come from a committee. Vanessa's jaw dropped. What are you talking about? She works for some small firm doing house extensions and shopping centers. No, Ryan said, his eyes still fixed on Simone. She designed one of the most celebrated buildings in the state. A building that won 3 national architecture awards and has been featured in every major design magazine in the country. Derek's arm fell away from Simone's waist. That's impossible. Simone never told me about any major projects. Because you never asked, Simone said quietly, finding her voice. The humiliation from minutes earlier was being replaced by something else, a flicker of the confidence she'd buried for too long. You never asked about my work, Derek. You just cashed the checks. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward, her face pale. Surely there's been some mistake. Our Simone isn't capable of such important work. Your Simone, Ryan said, emphasis on the word your, is one of the most talented architects I've ever encountered. The Harrison Building has a waiting list of tenants 3 years long. It's completely booked because everyone wants to work in a space she created. Simone felt tears prick her eyes, but for the first time in years, they weren't tears of shame or sadness. They were tears of validation. Someone finally saw her worth. Someone recognized what she'd accomplished. Why didn't the firm give you proper credit? Ryan asked gently. Because I was young and desperate for the opportunity. I signed away my rights to individual recognition in exchange for the chance to work on something meaningful. Simone glanced at Derek. I needed the money and they promised future opportunities that never came. That's criminal, Ryan said, anger flashing in his eyes. You should have been the lead architect on dozens of projects by now. Vanessa was staring at her new husband like she'd never seen him before. Ryan, surely you can discuss business another time. This is our wedding reception. You're right, Ryan agreed. This isn't the appropriate time or place. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. Miss Taylor, I'd like you to call my office first thing Monday morning. I have several major projects that require an architect of your caliber. Simone took the card with trembling fingers. The Harrison Corporation logo was embossed in gold. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You'll earn every penny. Ryan's smile was genuine now. I believe in recognizing talent and giving credit where it's due. Derek was staring at the card in Simone's hand like it might bite him. What kind of projects are we talking about? The kind that would make your wife one of the most sought-after architects in the region, Ryan replied without looking at Derek. The kind that pay what she's actually worth. The implications of his words hung in the air. For 3 years, Derek had been treating Simone like she was lucky to have him, like she was the one getting the better deal in their marriage. But she'd been supporting him, funding his failed business ventures, paying the mortgage on their house, all while her talent went unrecognized. I should go, Simone said again, but this time her voice was stronger. Yes, Ryan agreed. You should. You have important work to prepare for. As Simone walked toward the exit, she could hear Vanessa's sharp voice behind her. Ryan, what has gotten into you? Why are you giving that woman opportunities? She's nobody. No, Vanessa, came Ryan's firm reply. She's somebody. She's exactly the somebody I've been looking for. Simone drove home in silence, Ryan's business card clutched in her hand like a lifeline. The 20-minute drive from the hotel to her suburban house felt like a journey between 2 different worlds, one where she was dismissed and humiliated, another where her talent was recognized and valued. She pulled into the driveway of the house she'd been paying the mortgage on for 2 years and sat in her car for a moment, staring at the windows. Inside was the life she'd built with Derek, the life where she'd made herself smaller and smaller to accommodate his ego and his family's expectations. The front door slammed as Derek's car screeched into the driveway behind her. Simone took a deep breath and got out of her car, steeling herself for the confrontation she knew was coming. What the hell was that about? Derek demanded, following her up the front steps. How could you embarrass me like that in front of everyone? Simone turned to face him, key in hand. Embarrass you? I wasn't the one with my tongue down someone else's throat behind the wedding cake. Derek's face went white, then red. You saw that. The whole room saw it, Derek. You weren't exactly being discreet. Simone unlocked the front door and walked inside, Derek close behind her. It's not what you think. Candace and I were just what? Just having a friendly kiss? Just celebrating your sister's wedding in your own special way. Simone dropped her purse on the coffee table and turned to face her husband. How long has it been going on? Derek ran his hands through his hair, pacing the living room. Look, Simone, you've been so busy with work lately and we've been growing apart. Don't you dare blame this on me. Simone's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Don't you dare make this about my work when my work is the only thing keeping this household afloat. That's not fair. Isn't it? When was the last time you contributed to the mortgage, Derek? When was the last time you paid a utility bill or bought groceries or put gas in your own car? Simone pulled out her phone and started scrolling through her banking app. Should I show you the receipts? Because I have 3 years' worth of them. Derek stopped pacing and stared at her. Since when do you keep track of that stuff? Since always. I've been keeping track of every expense, every payment, every dollar I've put into this marriage while you've been playing entrepreneur with failed business after failed business. Simone's voice grew stronger with each word. Did you know I've paid over $200,000 into this household in the last 3 years? Do you know how much you've contributed? Derek's silence was answer enough. $12,000, Simone continued. That's it. $12,000 over 3 years while I've been working 60-hour weeks and taking on extra projects to keep us afloat. And the whole time, your family has been treating me like I'm the charity case. My family doesn't mean anything by it. They just what? Think I'm not good enough? Think I'm an embarrassment? Well, guess what, Derek? I just found out that I designed one of the most celebrated buildings in the state. I found out that I'm actually really good at what I do, good enough that a millionaire businessman has been looking for me for 3 years. Derek sat down heavily on the couch. About that? How come you never told me about that building? Because you never asked. Simone sat down across from him but kept her distance. In 3 years of marriage, how many times have you asked me about my projects? How many times have you showed interest in my work beyond how much money it brought in? Derek opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again. That's what I thought. Simone leaned back in her chair. You know what's really sad, Derek? I was so busy trying to make myself fit into your world that I forgot who I was before I met you. I forgot that I'm talented and capable and worthy of respect. Look, about Candace. I don't want to hear about Candace. Simone stood up. I want you to pack a bag and leave. Tonight. You can't kick me out of my own house. Your house. Simone laughed, but there was no humor in it. This house that I've been paying the mortgage on for 2 years? The house that's in my name because your credit was too bad to qualify for the loan? That house. Derek's face crumpled. Simone, please. We can work this out. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. No, we can't. Because this isn't just about Candace. This is about 3 years of you letting your family treat me like garbage while I supported you financially and emotionally. This is about you making me feel small and worthless while I was accomplishing things you couldn't even imagine. Simone walked to the window and looked out at the garden she'd planted and maintained herself. I'm done, Derek. I'm done with this marriage, I'm done with your family, and I'm done making myself smaller to make you feel bigger. But I love you. No, you don't. Simone turned back to face him. You love what I provide. You love having your bills paid and your ego stroked. But you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have cheated. If you loved me, you wouldn't have let your sister humiliate me in public. If you loved me, you would have been proud of my accomplishments instead of ignoring them. Derek tried one more time. What about everything we've built together? What have we built, Derek? Really? I built this house, I built the financial stability, I built the life we're living. You just lived in it. Simone picked up his keys from the coffee table and held them out to him. Pack a bag. I'll give you a week to find somewhere else to live. As Derek trudged upstairs to pack, Simone looked down at Ryan's business card again. Monday morning couldn't come soon enough. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzly, but Simone woke up feeling lighter than she had in months. Derek had spent the weekend at his mother's house, sending a stream of apologetic texts that Simone had ignored. She'd spent the time researching Harrison Corporation and preparing for what might be the most important phone call of her career. At exactly 9 o'clock, she dialed the number on Ryan's business card. Harrison Corporation, Mr. Harrison's office? A crisp professional voice answered. This is Simone Taylor. Mr. Harrison asked me to call this morning about some potential projects. Oh yes, Miss Taylor. Mr. Harrison has been expecting your call. Please hold while I connect you. Within seconds, Ryan's familiar voice came on the line. Miss Taylor, I was hoping you'd call early. Do you have time to come in this morning for a meeting? Absolutely. Excellent. Can you be here by 10:30? I'd like to show you something. An hour later, Simone stood in the lobby of the Harrison building, her building, looking up at the soaring ceiling she'd designed. The morning light filtered through the innovative glass panels she'd specified, creating patterns on the marble floor that shifted with the sun's movement. It's even more beautiful than I imagined it would be, she said softly. Ryan appeared beside her, following her gaze upward. You imagine this? Every detail. The way the light moves, the way sound carries, the flow of foot traffic. Simone turned in a slow circle. I spent months modeling this space, but seeing it filled with people, seeing it alive. It's incredible. Then you'll appreciate what I'm about to show you. Ryan led her to a private elevator that took them to the top floor. His office occupied half the level, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Beautiful office, Simone said, admiring the clean lines and natural light. It's about to be your office. Simone turned to stare at him. Excuse me? I want to offer you a position as chief architect for Harrison Corporation. You'd be responsible for all our major construction projects, with complete creative control and a team of junior architects to support you. Ryan walked to his desk and picked up a folder. The salary is 3 times what you're making now, plus performance bonuses, plus equity in the company. Simone's legs felt weak. She sat down in one of the chairs facing his desk. Why? Because I've spent 3 years watching other architects try to recreate what you did with this building, and none of them have even come close. Because I have 12 major projects in development that need someone with your vision and skills. Ryan sat down across from her. And because after what I witnessed at my wedding reception, I think you deserve to work somewhere that recognizes your worth. Your wedding reception. Simone looked down at her hands. I'm sorry about that scene. I didn't mean to cause drama on your special day. You didn't cause anything. My new wife and her family did. Ryan's voice was tight. I've been married for 3 days and I'm already seeing sides of Vanessa I didn't know existed. Simone looked up at him. I probably shouldn't comment on your marriage. Probably not. But you can comment on this job offer. Ryan slid the folder across the desk to her. Take a look at the terms. Simone opened the folder and felt her breath catch. The salary figure alone was more than she'd ever dreamed of earning. The benefits package was comprehensive, and the job description outlined exactly the kind of challenging, innovative work she'd always wanted to do. This seems too good to be true. It's not charity if that's what you're worried about. I need a top-level architect and you're the best I've found. Harrison Corporation is expanding into 3 new cities over the next 2 years. I need someone who can handle major commercial projects, residential developments, and mixed-use complexes. Ryan leaned forward. I need someone who can think beyond the conventional and create spaces that people actually want to work and live in. Simone looked through the project descriptions in the folder. Shopping centers, office complexes, luxury condominiums, even a small hospital. The scope was incredible. When would you need an answer? Today. Simone looked up sharply. Today. I don't believe in long deliberations for obvious decisions. Either you want to step into your potential or you don't. Either you're ready to be recognized for your talent or you're content to stay where you are. Put that way, there really wasn't a decision to make. Simone had spent 3 years dimming her own light to make other people comfortable. She'd spent 3 years accepting less than she deserved because she'd been convinced she wasn't worthy of more. I accept. Ryan smiled, the first genuinely warm smile she'd seen from him. Excellent. You can start next Monday. That gives you a week to give notice at your current firm and get your affairs in order. What about the divorce proceedings? I should probably mention that I'm in the middle of ending my marriage. Your personal life is your business as long as it doesn't interfere with your work. And from what I saw Saturday night, ending that marriage is probably the smartest career move you could make. Simone stood up, folder in hand, feeling like she was floating. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. You won't regret this. Call me Ryan. And I know I won't regret it. He stood and extended his hand to shake hers. Welcome to Harrison Corporation, Miss Taylor. I think this is the beginning of something remarkable. As Simone left the building, her building, she felt like she was walking into a completely new life. The gray morning had given way to bright sunshine, and for the first time in years, the future looked brilliant. 2 weeks into her new position at Harrison Corporation, Simone was working 12-hour days and loving every minute of it. Her new office, the one that had been Ryan's, was filled with architectural models, design sketches and project proposals. She had a team of 6 junior architects, all eager to work on the innovative projects Harrison Corporation was known for. "Miss Taylor, your 3 o'clock is here," her assistant Jennifer announced over the intercom. Simone looked up from the blueprints spread across her desk. She'd completely lost track of time working on the design for a new medical center. "Send them in." She expected a client or contractor, but Derek walked through her office door instead, looking smaller and more uncertain than she'd ever seen him. "What are you doing here, Derek? How did you even get up here?" "I told the security desk I was your husband." Derek stood awkwardly by the door, taking in the spacious office and city views. Wow. This is really something. "It's my office. What do you want?" Derek moved closer to her desk, careful not to disturb the architectural drawings. "I wanted to see where you're working now. And I wanted to talk about the divorce papers." "What about them? Sign them or don't sign them. Either way, I'm done with this marriage." "Simone, please. Can we sit down and talk like adults?" Simone gestured to the chairs facing her desk, the same setup where Ryan had offered her this job 2 weeks earlier. Derek sat down and looked around the office again. "This is incredible. How much are they paying you here?" "None of your business." "It is my business. We're still married and in this state." "Don't." Simone's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare come in here talking about what you're entitled to. You want to discuss the divorce settlement? Call my lawyer." Derek leaned forward, putting on the charm that had worked on her for 3 years. "Baby, I know I messed up. But look at what you've accomplished. Look at this office, this opportunity. Maybe this is exactly what we needed, a fresh start, a chance to build something together on equal footing." Simone stared at him in disbelief. "Equal footing? You think now that I have a good job, suddenly we're equals?" "That's not what I meant." "That's exactly what you meant. For 3 years I supported you while your family treated me like garbage. For 3 years I made myself smaller so you could feel bigger. But now that I have success and money, suddenly I'm worth something to you." Derek's face reddened. "That's not fair. I always believed in you." "Did you? Then why didn't you ever ask about my work? Why didn't you care about my projects or my dreams? Why did you let your sister call me a family embarrassment without saying a word? I should have stood up for you. I know that now. Now that it benefits you to know it." Simone stood up and walked to the window. "Where are you living, Derek?" "With my mom. But I'm looking for my own place. Actually, I was hoping we could work things out so I could move back home." "That house is being sold." Derek shot to his feet. "You can't sell our house without my consent." "I can and I am. My lawyer checked. Since the house is in my name alone and I've been making all the payments, I have the legal right to sell it." Simone turned back to face him. "I've already had 2 showings this week. Where will I live?" "That's not my problem anymore, Derek. You're a grown man. Figure it out." Derek paced to the other side of the office, his composure finally cracking. "This is all that guy's fault, isn't it? Ryan Harrison. He's been filling your head with ideas about how successful you are, how you deserve better." "Ryan Harrison didn't fill my head with anything. He just recognized what was already there, talent that you ignored and accomplishments you dismissed." Simone moved back to her desk and gathered up the divorce papers. "He hired me because I'm good at what I do, not because he wanted to break up my marriage. I bet he wants more than just your professional skills." Simone's eyes flashed dangerously. "Careful, Derek. You're in my workplace talking to my boss's boss. I'd suggest you watch your tone." The threat in her voice was unmistakable. Derek had never seen this side of Simone, confident, authoritative, unwilling to be pushed around. It unsettled him. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean that." Derek sat back down, deflated. "It's just, everything's falling apart. The business I was trying to start failed completely. I can't afford rent anywhere decent. And Candace?" "What about Candace?" "She dumped me. Said she thought I had money and prospects, but it turns out I don't have either." Derek looked up at Simone with something like desperation in his eyes. "I need you, Simone. I know I didn't appreciate what I had, but I do now." "No, you don't. You need what I can provide. You need someone to pay your bills and boost your ego and clean up your messes. But you don't need me." Simone picked up the divorce papers and held them out to him. "Sign these, Derek. Let us both move on with our lives." Derek stared at the papers for a long moment, then slowly reached for them. "What if I refuse to sign? Then my lawyer will file for divorce on grounds of adultery, and you'll get even less in the settlement. Simone's voice was matter-of-fact. I have photos, Derek. Lots of them. From the wedding and from other occasions. You weren't as discreet as you thought you were. The fight went out of Derek completely. He took the papers and signed them without reading them, his signature shaky and defeated. I really did love you, he said quietly as he set the papers back on her desk. Maybe you did in your own way. But love isn't enough when it comes without respect. Simone walked to her office door and held it open. Goodbye, Derek. After he left, Simone stood at her window looking out at the city below. She felt sad for the end of her marriage but not regretful. For the first time in years she was exactly where she belonged. 3 months later, Simone was reviewing the final designs for Harrison Corporation's newest project, a luxury shopping complex that would rival anything on the East Coast, when Jennifer buzzed her intercom. Miss Taylor, there's a woman here to see you. She says she's Vanessa Patterson and it's urgent. Simone looked up from her drawings, surprised. She hadn't heard from Derek's family since the divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. Send her in. Vanessa walked into Simone's office looking nothing like the radiant bride from 6 months earlier. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her hair was pulled back carelessly, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Hello, Vanessa. Don't act like you're happy to see me. Vanessa remained standing, her arms crossed defensively. I need to talk to you about Ryan. What about him? What about him? You destroyed my marriage, that's what about him. Vanessa's voice was rising, and Simone could see Jennifer through the glass office wall looking concerned. I didn't destroy anything, Vanessa. I work for your husband's company. That's all. That's all? Vanessa laughed bitterly. Do you know what he said when he asked me for a divorce last week? He said he married the wrong woman. He said he should have married someone with substance instead of someone who tears others down to feel better about herself. Simone kept her expression neutral, though internally she was shocked. Ryan was getting divorced already? I'm sorry to hear about your marriage troubles, but I don't see what that has to do with me. It has everything to do with you. Vanessa began pacing Simone's office like a caged animal. Ever since that wedding, Ryan has been comparing me to you. Your work ethic, your talent, your integrity. Do you know how it feels to have your husband constantly throw another woman in your face? Actually, I do know how that feels. Derek spent 3 years making me feel inadequate compared to other women. The difference is that Ryan is comparing you to someone based on professional merit, while your family spent years comparing me to people based on superficial things like social status. Vanessa stopped pacing and stared at Simone. Are you sleeping with my husband? No, Vanessa. I'm not. And I find it interesting that you jumped to that conclusion instead of considering that maybe Ryan is just disappointed in who you turned out to be. What's that supposed to mean? Simone leaned back in her chair, studying Derek's sister with new eyes. It means that at your wedding reception you showed your true character. You publicly humiliated someone who had never done anything to you, just to make yourself feel superior. Maybe Ryan realized he married someone who enjoys hurting others. I was protecting my family. You were never good enough for Derek and everyone knew it. And how's Derek doing now, Vanessa? How's he handling life without me supporting him financially? Vanessa's face flushed. That's different. Is it? Because from what I hear, Derek's living in your mother's basement, can't find steady work, and the woman he cheated on me with dumped him when she realized he was broke. Simone stood up and walked around her desk. Meanwhile, I'm designing buildings that will define the city's skyline for the next 50 years. So tell me, who wasn't good enough for whom? You think you're so special now, don't you? You think because Ryan gave you this job, you're suddenly worth something. I've always been worth something, Vanessa. The difference is that now I work for someone who recognizes that instead of trying to diminish it. Vanessa's composure cracked completely. Ryan is filing for divorce and he's citing irreconcilable differences. Do you know what that means in legal terms? It means he doesn't want to be married to you anymore. It means I get almost nothing. We weren't married long enough for significant alimony, and he had me sign a prenup. Vanessa's voice was desperate now. I need this marriage to work, Simone. I need you to talk to him, to tell him that you and I have worked out our differences. Simone stared at her in amazement. You want me to lie to your husband to save your marriage? The same marriage you want to save because you need his money? I love him. No, you love his bank account. If you loved him, you wouldn't have spent 6 months showing him how cruel and shallow you can be. Simone walked to her office door. I think you should leave now. Please, Simone. I'm desperate here. My modeling career never took off, I don't have any real job skills, and if Ryan divorces me, I'll have nothing. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you made a career out of being mean to people. Simone held the door open. I'm not going to help you manipulate Ryan into staying in an unhappy marriage. Vanessa walked to the door, then turned back one last time. This isn't over. I know you want Ryan for yourself. Actually, I want Ryan to be happy. And clearly he's not happy with you. Simone's voice was calm but final. Goodbye, Vanessa. After Vanessa left, Simone sat back down at her desk, her hands shaking slightly. She hadn't expected to feel vindicated by Vanessa's desperation, but she couldn't deny the satisfaction of seeing Derek's sister face consequences for her actions. Her intercom buzzed. Miss Taylor, Mr. Harrison would like to see you in his office when you have a moment. I'll be right there. Simone walked down the hall to Ryan's temporary office. Since giving her his original space, he'd taken a smaller office on the same floor. She knocked on his door frame. You wanted to see me? Ryan looked up from his computer and she could see the stress lines around his eyes. Come in and close the door, please. Simone sat down in the chair across from his desk. I should mention that Vanessa was just here to see me. I figured she might try that. Ryan rubbed his temples. What did she want? She wanted me to convince you to reconsider the divorce. She seems to think I have some kind of influence over your personal decisions. And what did you tell her? I told her that I'm not interested in getting involved in her marriage problems. Simone paused. I also told her that maybe you divorced her because you realized what kind of person she really is. Ryan looked up at her with something like gratitude in his eyes. She showed her true colors pretty quickly after the wedding. The way she treated you that night wasn't an isolated incident. She's been cruel to waitresses, rude to my assistants, dismissive of anyone she considers beneath her social status. I'm sorry your marriage didn't work out. I'm not. I'm sorry I didn't see who she really was before I married her, but I'm not sorry to be getting out now. Ryan leaned back in his chair. I wanted to let you know that the divorce might get messy. Vanessa's lawyer might try to subpoena company records, claim that our working relationship is inappropriate. Is our working relationship inappropriate? Ryan met her eyes directly. Not yet. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in getting to know you better outside of work. Simone felt her heart skip a beat, but she kept her voice steady. I just finalized my own divorce 2 weeks ago. I'm not ready for anything complicated. I understand. And I won't put you in an uncomfortable position while we're working together. Ryan's smile was warm but professional. But when you are ready, I'd like to take you to dinner. Somewhere that has nothing to do with architecture or construction or building permits. I'll let you know, Simone said, but she was smiling as she said it. As she walked back to her office, Simone realized that for the first time in her adult life, she was exactly where she wanted to be: professionally successful, personally independent, and surrounded by people who respected her worth. The tables hadn't just turned, they'd been completely rebuilt. 6 months later, Simone was putting the finishing touches on the medical center design when Jennifer knocked on her office door. Miss Taylor, there's a Mrs. Patterson here to see you. She says she's Derek's mother. Simone looked up, surprised. She hadn't heard from any of Derek's family since Vanessa's desperate visit months earlier. Send her in. Mrs. Patterson walked into the office looking significantly older and more worn than Simone remembered. Her usually perfect hair was streaked with gray, and her expensive clothes had been replaced with more modest attire. Hello, Mrs. Patterson. Simone dear, thank you for seeing me. Mrs. Patterson sat down carefully as if she were in pain. I know we didn't part on the best of terms. That's one way to put it. I deserve that. Mrs. Patterson looked around the impressive office, taking in the architectural awards on the walls and the city view. I owe you an apology. Simone set down her pencil and gave Mrs. Patterson her full attention. This was not what she'd expected. We were wrong about you. Derek's father and I, Vanessa, all of us. We were wrong, and I'm ashamed of how we treated you. What changed your mind? Mrs. Patterson's shoulders sagged. Everything fell apart after you left. Derek can't hold a job, he's living in our basement at 32 years old, and he's bitter about everything. Vanessa's divorce was finalized last month, and she moved back home too. She's working at a department store now because her modeling never amounted to anything. Simone listened without comment, waiting for Mrs. Patterson to continue. But the worst part is seeing what we lost when we pushed you away. You were the best thing that ever happened to Derek, and we were too proud and too stupid to see it. Mrs. Patterson reached into her purse and pulled out a newspaper clipping. I saw this article about your medical center design winning a national award. The reporter called you one of the most innovative architects of your generation. Simone glanced at the article but didn't reach for it. That's very nice. Derek's father had a heart attack 3 months ago. Did you know that? Simone's expression softened slightly. No, I didn't. I'm sorry to hear that. He's recovering, but the medical bills are overwhelming. Our insurance doesn't cover everything, and Derek's father can't work anymore. Mrs. Patterson's voice cracked. We had to sell the house, Simone. The house Derek grew up in, the house we thought we'd die in. We're living in a small apartment now, struggling to make ends meet. I'm sorry for your financial troubles, Mrs. Patterson, but I'm not sure why you're telling me this. Because I realized that while we were looking down on you, you were the one holding our son together. You were paying his bills, supporting his dreams, giving him stability. And we treated you like you were lucky to be part of our family. Mrs. Patterson leaned forward, her eyes pleading. Derek is miserable without you. He talks about you constantly, about what he lost, about how he threw away the best relationship he'll ever have. Mrs. Patterson, if you're here to ask me to take Derek back. No. The older woman shook her head firmly. I'm not that foolish. I know that bridge is burned and Derek burned it himself. I'm here to ask for your forgiveness, and to tell you that I'm proud of what you've accomplished. Simone was quiet for a long moment, processing this unexpected turn of events. I also wanted to warn you about something, Mrs. Patterson continued. Derek has been drinking heavily since the divorce was finalized. He's angry and unpredictable. Yesterday he was talking about coming to see you, and I'm afraid he might cause trouble. What kind of trouble? I don't know. He blames everyone but himself for how his life turned out. He blames you, he blames Ryan Harrison, he blames Candace for leaving him. When people suggested he get help or look for work, he got violent. Simone felt a chill of concern. Violent how? He put his fist through the wall at our apartment. He threw furniture. He scared Vanessa so badly she went to stay with a friend. Mrs. Patterson's hands were shaking now. I'm afraid of my own son, Simone. And I'm afraid of what he might do if he shows up here. Have you considered calling the police? And tell them what? That my son might cause trouble? They can't arrest him for being angry. Mrs. Patterson stood up slowly. I just wanted to warn you. And to say that I'm sorry. For everything. After Mrs. Patterson left, Simone sat in her office feeling unsettled. She'd been so focused on building her new life that she hadn't considered Derek might become a problem. She picked up her phone and called building security, alerting them that her ex-husband should not be allowed access to her floor. Then she called Ryan. We might have a problem, she said when he answered. Derek might be planning to cause trouble here at the office. I'll be right there. 5 minutes later, Ryan appeared in her doorway with 2 security guards behind him. Tell me exactly what Mrs. Patterson said. Simone recounted the conversation, watching Ryan's expression grow darker with each detail. We're not taking any chances, Ryan said firmly. Security is going to escort you home tonight, and I want you to consider staying somewhere else for a few days until we can assess the threat level. You think Derek would actually hurt me? I think desperate, angry people do unpredictable things. And I'm not willing to risk your safety to find out how desperate Derek has become. As if on cue, Jennifer's voice came over the intercom, tight with alarm. Miss Taylor, there's a man in the lobby demanding to see you. Security won't let him up, but he's getting very aggressive. Ryan and Simone exchanged glances. Through the office windows, they could see down to the street level where a police car was pulling up to the building entrance. Looks like Derek just made this decision for us, Ryan said grimly. The consequences of years of entitlement and poor choices were finally catching up to Derek Patterson, and Simone realized she was about to see just how far a desperate man might go. The incident with Derek at the building had been resolved quickly. Security had called the police when he became belligerent, and he'd spent the night in jail for public intoxication and disorderly conduct. But it had shaken Simone more than she cared to admit, and Ryan had insisted she take a few days off to let things settle down. Now, a week later, Simone stood in front of the mirror in her hotel room, adjusting the elegant black dress she'd bought for tonight's award ceremony. The National Architecture Association was presenting her with their Rising Star Award, the youngest recipient in the organization's history. A soft knock at her door interrupted her preparations. She opened it to find Ryan standing in the hallway, impeccably dressed in a black tuxedo. You look stunning, he said simply. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. Simone grabbed her clutch and stepped into the hallway. Are you ready for this? I should be asking you that question. You're the one being honored tonight. They rode the elevator down to the hotel's ballroom in comfortable silence. Over the past few months, their friendship had deepened beyond their professional relationship. Ryan had been unfailingly supportive during her divorce, and she'd been a steady presence during his own legal battles with Vanessa. Nervous? Ryan asked as they approached the ballroom entrance. Terrified, Simone admitted. A year ago, I was invisible in my own marriage. Tonight, I'm being recognized as one of the top architects in the country. It doesn't feel real. It's real because you made it real. You did the work, you created the designs, you earned this recognition. Ryan offered her his arm. Ready? The ballroom was filled with the most prominent names in architecture, construction, and urban planning. Simone recognized faces from magazine covers and industry publications. People she'd admired from afar for years were now her peers. Simone Taylor. A distinguished older man approached them with an extended hand. Richard Morrison from Morrison & Associates. I've been following your work since the Harrison Building. Absolutely revolutionary design. As the evening progressed, Simone found herself in conversation after conversation with industry leaders who knew her work and respected her vision. It was surreal and wonderful and slightly overwhelming all at once. And now, the Master of Ceremonies announced from the podium, it's my pleasure to present this year's Rising Star Award to someone who has redefined what sustainable architecture can achieve in urban environments. Please welcome Simone Taylor. The applause was thunderous as Simone made her way to the stage. She looked out at the sea of faces, successful, accomplished people who were celebrating her achievements, and felt a surge of pride and gratitude. Thank you, she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. A year ago, I was designing strip malls and house additions, convinced that was the best I could hope for. I thought success meant making myself smaller, taking up less space, asking for less recognition. She paused, finding Ryan's face in the crowd. He was beaming with pride. But I learned something important this year. Talent doesn't diminish when you share it. Vision doesn't weaken when you express it boldly. And worth doesn't decrease when you refuse to settle for less than you deserve. Her voice grew stronger with each word. This award isn't just recognition of my work, it's validation for everyone who has ever been told they're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough to pursue their dreams. The applause that followed was even louder than before, and Simone saw several people in the audience wiping their eyes. After the ceremony, at the after-party in the hotel bar, Simone was surrounded by well-wishers and potential clients. A major developer from New York wanted to discuss a mixed-use project in Manhattan. A city planning committee from Chicago was interested in her sustainable housing concepts. A tech company needed an innovative headquarters design. Ms. Taylor, a young woman, approached her during a brief lull in the conversations. I'm Sandra Kim from Architectural Digest. I was wondering if you'd be interested in being featured on our cover next month? We're doing a special issue on architects who are shaping the future of American cities. Simone nearly choked on her champagne. The cover of Architectural Digest? The cover. Your Harrison Building has been photographed more than any other structure built in the last 5 years. Our readers want to know about the woman behind the design. After Sandra left with Simone's contact information, Ryan appeared at her elbow with fresh drinks. How does it feel to be famous? He asked with a grin. Surreal. This morning I was worried about Derek showing up at the office. Tonight I'm being offered the cover of Architectural Digest. Simone shook her head in amazement. My life has changed so completely that I barely recognize it anymore. Do you miss any of it? The old life. Simone considered the question seriously. I miss the security of thinking I knew what my future looked like. But I don't miss feeling small and unappreciated and financially used. She turned to face Ryan fully. And I definitely don't miss being with someone who couldn't see my worth. Derek's an idiot. Derek is Derek. He's not a bad person, just a weak one. He wanted to be successful and admired, but he wasn't willing to do the work to earn it. So he tried to live off someone else's efforts while convincing himself he deserved the credit. Ryan was quiet for a moment, swirling the ice in his drink. Vanessa was similar. She wanted the lifestyle that comes with success, but she didn't want to contribute anything meaningful to get it. Are you glad you're divorced? Absolutely. That marriage was a mistake from day one. I was attracted to her beauty and what I thought was confidence, but it turned out to be entitlement and cruelty. Ryan looked at Simone seriously. I almost made the biggest mistake of my life, marrying someone who didn't share my values. What are your values? Hard work, integrity, treating people with respect regardless of their position in life, building things that matter and leaving the world a little better than I found it. Ryan's smile was warm. What about you? The same, actually, which is probably why we work so well together. Is that the only reason we work well together? The question hung in the air between them, loaded with months of growing attraction and carefully maintained professional boundaries. Ryan. I know. You're not ready for anything complicated. But Simone, it's been 8 months since your divorce. At some point, you're going to have to decide if you're going to let Derek's betrayal keep you from taking chances on new relationships. Before Simone could respond, a commotion near the bar entrance caught their attention. Derek was pushing past the hotel security guards, disheveled and obviously drunk, his eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on Simone. There she is, he shouted, pointing at her. My ex-wife, everyone. The woman who destroyed my life. The elegant after-party went dead silent as Derek stumbled toward their corner of the bar, with security guards close behind. Ryan stepped protectively in front of Simone, but she gently moved him aside. This was her moment, her triumph, and she wasn't going to let Derek diminish it. Hello, Derek, she said calmly, her voice carrying clearly in the silent room. Derek swayed slightly as he approached, his expensive suit wrinkled and stained, his face flushed with alcohol and anger. The elegant crowd of architects and developers parted to give him space, everyone sensing the drama that was about to unfold. Look at you, Derek slurred, gesturing wildly at Simone's evening gown and the award she still held. Look at Miss Successful now. Too good for your own husband, but not too good to steal someone else's. I didn't steal anything, Derek. I earned this. Simone's voice was steady, confident. The frightened woman from the wedding reception was gone. You earned it? Derek laughed bitterly. You earned it by sleeping with the boss, just like I always suspected. The accusation hung in the air like a poison cloud. Simone felt Ryan tense beside her, but she held up a hand to stop him from intervening. Is that what you tell yourself, Derek? That the only way a woman can be successful is by sleeping her way to the top? Simone took a step forward and surprisingly Derek took a step back. Because that says a lot more about you than it does about me. You left me for him. Derek pointed an accusatory finger at Ryan. You destroyed our marriage for money and fancy offices. I left you because you were cheating on me with Candace. I left you because you let your family treat me like garbage for 3 years while I paid all your bills. I left you because you made me feel worthless while I was accomplishing things you couldn't even imagine. The crowd was completely silent now, riveted by the confrontation playing out before them. Several people had their phones out, undoubtedly recording the scene. I made a mistake with Candace, but you never even tried to work things out. You just ran straight to him. Derek's voice was getting louder and more erratic. Derek, stop. Mrs. Patterson's voice came from behind him. Simone looked past Derek to see his mother approaching, flanked by 2 hotel security guards. Son, you need to leave. Now. Mom, stay out of this. This is between me and my wife. Ex-wife, Simone corrected firmly. And your mother is right. You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere until I say what I came here to say. Derek turned to address the room at large. This woman pretends to be so moral and successful, but she's a home wrecker. She destroyed my sister's marriage and stole my life. Your sister's marriage failed because she's cruel and entitled, just like you've become. And I didn't steal your life, Derek. You threw it away. Simone's voice carried clearly through the silent ballroom. You threw away a woman who loved you, supported you financially and emotionally, and believed in your potential even when you didn't believe in yourself. That's not true. Isn't it? For 3 years I paid our mortgage, our car payments, our credit card bills. I funded every failed business venture you started. I worked 60-hour weeks while you played entrepreneur with my money. And the entire time your family made me feel like I should be grateful just to be included. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was better than any reality TV show. You were grateful. You married up and you knew it. Simone laughed, a sound devoid of humor. Married up? To a man who couldn't qualify for a car loan because his credit was so bad? To a man who needed his wife to co-sign for everything because he'd defaulted on so many payments? To a man whose biggest accomplishment was convincing his wife she was lucky to have him. Derek's face went red with humiliation. You're making me sound like a loser. I'm not making you sound like anything, Derek. I'm just telling the truth. And the truth is that I was never the charity case in our relationship. You were. The words hit Derek like physical blows. He looked around the room at the faces staring back at him, successful, accomplished people who were seeing him exactly as he was. A bitter, failed man attacking his successful ex-wife. This isn't over, he said, his voice lower but no less venomous. Yes, it is. Ryan finally spoke, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Security is going to escort you out now, and if you come near Simone again, I'll have you arrested for harassment. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening you. I'm informing you of the consequences of your actions. Ryan moved to stand beside Simone, presenting a united front. Simone has built a successful career through talent and hard work. You've spent the last year trying to tear down what she's accomplished because you can't accept that she succeeded without you. Derek looked from Ryan to Simone, then to his mother, who was shaking her head sadly. Mom? Go home, Derek. Get help. Stop blaming everyone else for the choices you made. Mrs. Patterson's voice was tired but firm. You cheated on the best woman you'll ever find, and now you want to punish her for moving on. As the security guards moved to escort Derek out, he turned back one last time. I loved you, Simone. Doesn't that count for anything? Simone looked at him with something that might have been pity. You loved what I provided, Derek. You loved having your bills paid and your ego stroked and your mistakes cleaned up. But you never loved me enough to respect me, support my dreams, or defend me when your family attacked me. Derek opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. The security guards took his arms and guided him toward the exit. Ladies and gentlemen, the hotel manager appeared with a microphone, trying to restore some normalcy to the evening. I apologize for the disruption. Please, let's return to celebrating Miss Taylor's remarkable achievements. As conversations slowly resumed around them, Ryan turned to Simone with concern in his eyes. Are you okay? I'm perfect, Simone said, and she meant it. For the first time in years, I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. Mrs. Patterson approached them hesitantly. Simone, I'm so sorry. I tried to talk him out of coming here. It's not your fault, Mrs. Patterson. Derek makes his own choices. Simone's voice was kind but distant. I hope he gets the help he needs. He won't. He's too proud and too bitter. But I want you to know that seeing you tonight, seeing what you've accomplished. Mrs. Patterson's voice cracked. I'm ashamed of how we treated you. You deserved so much better from all of us. After Mrs. Patterson left, Ryan and Simone stood together at the edge of the ballroom, watching the party continue around them. Well, Ryan said finally, that was certainly memorable. Simone laughed, a genuine sound of relief and triumph. You know what? I'm glad it happened. I'm glad Derek showed up tonight and made a fool of himself in front of all these people. Because now I know for certain that I made the right choice leaving him. No doubts. None. I feel sorry for him, but I don't love him anymore. I don't even like him anymore. Simone turned to face Ryan fully. And I'm finally ready to move forward with my life. All of it. Ryan's smile was radiant. Does that mean you'll have dinner with me? Somewhere that has nothing to do with architecture or award ceremonies or dramatic confrontations with ex-husbands. I'd like that very much. As they left the ballroom together, Simone felt lighter than she had in years. The confrontation with Derek had been the final chapter in that part of her life, and she was ready to begin writing the next one. 2 years later, Simone stood on the balcony of her new penthouse apartment, looking out at the city skyline that now featured 3 buildings of her design. The morning sun caught the innovative glass facade of her latest project, a mixed-use development that combined affordable housing with commercial space in a way that had never been attempted before. The coffee's ready, Ryan's voice came from behind her. She turned to see him approaching with 2 steaming mugs, his hair still messy from sleep, wearing the Stanford t-shirt he'd slept in. They'd been living together for 6 months now, and it still felt like a dream sometimes. Thank you. She accepted the mug and settled into his arms as he stood behind her. I was just admiring our view. Our view, Ryan repeated, and she could hear the smile in his voice. I like the sound of that. Simone leaned back against his chest. Did you see the article in the journal this morning? The one about your housing project winning the Urban Innovation Award? Only about 6 times. I may have forwarded it to everyone I know. You're ridiculous. But Simone was smiling. Having someone who was genuinely proud of her accomplishments still felt wonderfully new. Her phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it and frowned slightly. What is it? Ryan asked, noticing her expression. Jennifer says there's a woman in the lobby asking to see me. She says it's Vanessa and she looks upset. Ryan groaned. What could she possibly want now? The divorce was finalized over a year ago. I don't know, but I told Jennifer to send her up. I'm curious. 10 minutes later, Vanessa knocked on their apartment door. When Simone opened it, she was shocked by what she saw. Vanessa looked thin and tired, her designer clothes replaced by a simple dress and cardigan. Hello, Simone. Thank you for agreeing to see me. Come in. Simone led her to the living room, where Ryan was waiting with obvious reluctance. Ryan. Vanessa nodded stiffly at her ex-husband. Vanessa. What brings you here? I wanted to apologize. To both of you, but especially to Simone. Vanessa sat down carefully, perching on the edge of the sofa like she might flee at any moment. Apologize for what, specifically? Simone asked, settling into the chair across from her. For everything. For how I treated you at my wedding, for the things I said about you during the divorce, for trying to convince you to lie to Ryan about our relationship. Vanessa's voice was quiet but sincere. I've spent the last 2 years working on myself, going to therapy, trying to understand why I was so cruel to people. Ryan and Simone exchanged glances. This was not what they'd expected. What brought this on? Ryan asked. Reality mostly. After our divorce, I moved back in with Mom and Derek, and I got to see firsthand what bitterness and entitlement do to a person. Vanessa looked directly at Simone. Derek has spent 2 years blaming everyone else for his problems, getting angrier and more bitter every day. Watching him made me realize I was heading down the same path. How is Derek? Simone asked, though she wasn't sure she really wanted to know. Not good. He's working part-time at a hardware store and living in Mom's basement. He drinks too much and talks constantly about how everyone wronged him. He's become exactly the kind of person I never wanted to be. Vanessa took a shaky breath before continuing. I got a job at a non-profit organization that helps women transition out of domestic violence situations. It's not glamorous work and the pay is terrible, but it's the first time in my life I've done something that actually helps people. That's good, Simone said carefully. I'm glad you found meaningful work. The women I work with have real problems. They've been abused, they have children to feed, they're trying to rebuild their lives from nothing. And here I was, complaining because my rich husband divorced me and I had to get a job like a normal person. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I was so ashamed of who I'd been. Ryan leaned forward. Vanessa, I appreciate you coming here, but what do you want from us? Nothing. I don't want anything except to make amends for the damage I caused. Vanessa looked at Simone. You were never the problem in Derek's life or in my marriage to Ryan. You were just convenient to blame because you were successful and confident and everything I thought I wanted to be. I wasn't always confident, Simone said softly. But you were always kind. Even when I was horrible to you, you never retaliated. You never tried to hurt me the way I tried to hurt you. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I was jealous of you, Simone. Jealous of your talent, your intelligence, your work ethic. Instead of trying to better myself, I tried to tear you down. The three of them sat in silence for a moment, processing the weight of Vanessa's words. I should go, Vanessa said finally, standing up. I just wanted you both to know that I'm sorry, and that I'm trying to be a better person. Vanessa, Simone called as she headed toward the door. For what it's worth, I think the work you're doing now is important. Helping those women, that matters. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. After Vanessa left, Ryan and Simone sat together on the sofa, both lost in thought. That was unexpected, Ryan said finally. People can change, I suppose. It just takes work and honesty and being willing to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. Speaking of change, Ryan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I was going to wait until tonight, until we went to dinner, but suddenly this seems like the perfect moment. Simone's breath caught as he dropped to one knee beside the sofa. Simone Taylor, you changed my life in the most beautiful way possible. You showed me what it means to be with someone who's truly my equal, someone who challenges me and inspires me and makes me want to be better every day. Ryan opened the box to reveal a stunning vintage-style engagement ring. Will you marry me? Yes, Simone said without hesitation, tears streaming down her face. Yes, absolutely yes. As Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger, Simone thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. 3 years ago, she'd been a woman who didn't believe she deserved respect or recognition. She'd been willing to accept crumbs of affection from people who didn't value her worth. Now she was one of the most successful architects in the state, engaged to a man who loved and respected her exactly as she was, living a life she'd built through her own talent and determination. I love you, Ryan said, pulling her into his arms. I love you too, Simone replied, meaning it completely. Thank you for seeing my worth when I couldn't see it myself. Thank you for being worth seeing, Ryan said, kissing her softly. As they stood together on their balcony, looking out at the city Simone was helping to reshape with her designs, she felt the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you've not only survived your challenges but transformed them into opportunities for growth. Derek was still bitter and blaming others for his failures. Vanessa was trying to change but had years of work ahead of her. Mrs. Patterson was dealing with the consequences of raising entitled children who couldn't face reality. But Simone had built something beautiful from the ashes of her old life. She had love, success, respect, and most importantly, she had learned to value herself enough to never settle for less than she deserved again. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Jennifer from the office. "Miss Taylor, I'm sorry to bother you on Saturday, but I have 3 major developers who want to meet with you next week about potential projects. One is from Dubai, one from Singapore, and one from London. They all specifically requested you after seeing your work featured in Architectural Digest." Simone smiled at Ryan, who could hear every word and was grinning proudly. "Schedule the meetings, Jennifer. And make sure to block out extra time. I have a feeling these are going to be very interesting conversations." As she hung up the phone, Ryan spun her around, both of them laughing. "Ready to conquer the world, Mrs. Harrison to be?" "I think I already have," Simone replied, looking at her engagement ring sparkling in the morning sunlight. "But yes, let's see what other adventures are waiting for us." They spent the rest of the morning on the balcony, drinking coffee and planning their future together, both the wedding and the architectural empire they were building side by side. For the first time in her life, Simone wasn't just surviving or enduring or hoping things would get better. She was thriving, and she knew without a doubt that the best was yet to come.